People think the worst part of fear is seeing a monster. They're wrong. The worst part is waking up somewhere you know cannot exist, and realizing someone has been expecting you. I don't know how long I was unconscious. Seconds. Minutes. Hours. Time had already begun behaving differently inside St. Mary Hospital. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I noticed was the silence. Not ordinary silence. This one felt heavy, as if the air itself were holding its breath. I blinked several times. Everything around me was gray. Concrete walls. Concrete floor. Concrete ceiling. No windows. No doors. Only a single flickering fluorescent light hanging above me. Its buzzing echoed endlessly through the room. I tried to sit up. Pain exploded through the back of my head. Something warm ran down my neck. Blood. As my vision cleared, I realized I wasn't in room 307 anymore. In fact, I wasn't anywhere inside the hospital I had been patrolling. This place looked older. Far older. The walls were cracked. Water dripped steadily from exposed pipes. Old hospital equipment lay abandoned everywhere. Most of it looked like it had been built sometime in the 1960s. Nothing matched the upper floors. It was like stepping decades into the past. Then I noticed something even stranger. There was no exit. Not one. I stood slowly. Turned in a complete circle. 4 walls. No doors. No windows. Nothing. Panic began rising inside me. This isn't possible. I searched every inch of the room. Ran my hands across the walls. Solid concrete. No hidden panels. No openings. No explanation. Then, a voice behind me. "You're looking in the wrong place." I spun around so quickly I almost fell. Mr. Sam stood in the corner. Except, he didn't look like the man I'd met yesterday. His gray suit was gone. Instead, he wore a faded white doctor's coat. Old. Torn. Covered in dark brown stains. His hair looked thinner. His face older. His eyes much sadder. "You." I backed away. "What are you?" He sighed. "I'm tired." "What did you do to me?" "I saved your life." I laughed bitterly. "You call this saving me?" He looked around the room. "No. This," he whispered. "This is the reason I couldn't." I pointed toward the wall. "Where are we?" His answer came immediately. "Basement 1." I frowned. "There isn't a basement." He looked at me with an expression that mixed pity and regret. "Officially, no. But St. Mary Hospital wasn't built first." The fluorescent light flickered. The room darkened. For a brief second, I thought I saw dozens of shadows moving behind the walls, watching us. Then the light stabilized again. Mr. Sam continued speaking. "In 1978, the state purchased this land to build a new medical research center. The construction crews began digging the foundation. They reached almost 60 feet below ground." He stopped. Looked toward the floor. "And then they found something." "A cave?" I asked. He slowly shook his head. "No. A structure. Older than the town. Older than the first settlers. No records. No blueprints. No explanation. They found a massive stone chamber buried beneath the earth." I listened without interrupting. They thought it was an archaeological discovery. So they brought experts. Scientists. Doctors. Military personnel. They opened it. Another long silence. His breathing became noticeably heavier. "They should have left it closed." "What was inside?" Mr. Sam closed his eyes. When he answered, his voice was almost inaudible. I don't know. You saw it. No. I saw something. So did everyone else. But none of us saw the same thing. He began pacing slowly. My supervisor saw a child. One doctor saw his dead wife. Another swore he was looking at an angel. He stopped walking. I saw my younger brother. The one who drowned when we were children. His hands trembled. It smiled at me. The room fell silent. I realized something horrifying. Whatever's down here. It changes. Mr. Sam nodded. It becomes whatever your mind wants most. A loud metallic clang echoed somewhere beyond the wall. We both froze. Mr. Sam immediately checked his watch. His face turned pale. No. What? It woke up earlier than usual. The wall behind us vibrated. Dust rained from the ceiling. Then, 3 slow knocks. Knock. 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 Exactly the same rhythm I'd heard after midnight. Mr. Sam stepped backward. Don't answer. I stared at him. It's knocking on a wall. I know. The knocking continued. Slower now. Patient. Like someone waiting politely to be invited inside. Suddenly, the concrete cracked. A thin black line spread across the wall. Then another. And another. The room shook. The cracks widened. Something on the other side was pushing outward. Not striking the wall. Pressing against it. As if countless hands were slowly forcing their way through. Mr. Sam grabbed my arm. We have to move. There isn't a door. There is now. He pointed. The wall opposite us slid open silently. A hidden passage. Impossible. We rushed inside. The passage was narrow. Barely wide enough for 2 people. Its walls weren't concrete anymore. They were stone. Ancient stone. Covered in strange symbols carved by hand. I ran my fingers across one. It felt warm. Almost alive. What language is this? Mr. Sam didn't even look. No one knows. Every linguist who tried translating it disappeared. I stopped walking. What? He looked back. I'm not joking anymore, Adam. You need to understand that. The passage eventually opened into a massive underground archive. Rows upon rows of steel shelves stretched into darkness. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Of patient files. Every single folder perfectly organized. Dust covered everything. Except the floor. Fresh footprints crossed between the shelves. Hundreds of them. Some belonged to adults. Others. Children. None led back out. What is this place? Mr. Sam walked toward one shelf. Without looking. He pulled out a file. He handed it to me. My name was written across the cover. Adam Carter. My hands began shaking. I opened it. The first page held a photograph of me. Sleeping. In my apartment. The picture had been taken through my bedroom window. I lived on the 8th floor. No fire escape. No balcony. Someone had been inside my home. The next page listed every address I'd ever lived at. Every school. Every job. Every medical appointment. Every speeding ticket. Everything. It knew my entire life. Then I reached the final page. A checklist. Night 1, the call heard. Completed. Night 2, curiosity confirmed. Completed. Night 3, subject entered room 307. Completed. Night 4, recognition phase. Completed. Night 5, replacement. Blank. Waiting. I slowly looked up. Who writes these? Mr. Sam didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward the far end of the archive. There stood a massive steel door. Unlike anything else underground. Painted black. Thick enough to survive an explosion. Only one symbol had been welded into its surface. B1. I frowned. What is that? His answer came so quietly. I barely heard it. The floor that officially doesn't exist. The lights above us flickered violently. Somewhere beyond the steel door. Something heavy moved. Not walking. Dragging itself. Closer. 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 Then, the old emergency speakers throughout the archive suddenly came alive. Static filled the underground chamber. A woman's terrified voice broke through. The recording sounded decades old. Containment failure. Static. Seal basement 1 immediately. Static. Do not let it reach the surface. Then, screaming. Dozens of people screaming at once. The recording abruptly ended. Every light went out. Darkness swallowed the archive. Only one thing remained visible. A thin line of black light. Slowly appearing beneath the steel door marked B1. There's an old saying, if you ever meet your double, one of you is about to die. I used to think it was just another superstition. I don't anymore. The black light beneath the steel door slowly spread across the floor. It wasn't like any light I'd ever seen. Instead of illuminating the darkness, it consumed it. The shadows bent toward it. The air became strangely heavy. Almost difficult to breathe. Every instinct told me to run. But my legs refused to move. Mr. Sam stood frozen beside me. His face had turned completely white. For the first time since I'd met him. He looked terrified. Not nervous. Not worried. Terrified. He whispered only one sentence. It's early. I looked at him. What is? He didn't answer. He simply stared at the door. Listening. Then we heard it. 3 slow footsteps. Step. A long pause. Step. Another pause. Step. Something enormous was approaching from the other side. Not rushing. Not hunting. Walking calmly. As if it already knew we had nowhere left to go. The steel door vibrated. A deep metallic groan echoed through the underground archive. Then, the locking mechanism released. 1 bolt. 2. 3. The sound rolled through the room like thunder. With one final click, the massive door slowly opened. Darkness poured out. Not smoke. Not fog. Darkness. Moving like thick liquid. Flowing across the floor toward us. At first, I thought I saw nothing inside. Then, a hand emerged. Pale. Thin. Human. It grabbed the edge of the doorway. Another hand appeared. Then another. Then another. Within seconds, dozens of white hands reached out from the darkness. Each one searching. Feeling. Grasping. Like drowning people trying desperately to escape. Suddenly, one of the hands seized someone. A man stumbled out of the darkness. He collapsed onto the floor. Covered in blood. His clothes were torn. Deep scratches covered his arms. He gasped for air. Then lifted his head. Every drop of blood left my face. The man was me. Not someone who looked similar. Not a twin. Not a relative. It was me. Exactly. Same hair. Same scar above my eyebrow. Same wedding ring I always wore, even though I'd never been married. Same watch. Same voice. He looked directly into my eyes. Adam. His voice cracked. Help me. I couldn't move. My brain simply stopped working. This wasn't possible. Nothing about this made sense. I looked at Mr. Sam. He grabbed my shoulder so hard it hurt. Don't listen to him. I stared at him in disbelief. That's me. He shook his head violently. No. It's what wants you to believe. The other Adam struggled to his feet. The pale hands behind him still clung to his legs, pulling him backward. He fought desperately. His eyes never left mine. He's lying. He pointed directly at Mr. Sam. He told me the same things. Mr. Sam's expression changed. For the first time, I saw guilt. Real guilt. The other Adam continued. Ask him. Ask him how long he's been here. I looked toward Mr. Sam. Answer him. He remained silent. How long? Still nothing. I stepped closer. Tell me. Finally. Without looking at me. He whispered. 32 years. The words echoed through the archive. 32 years. My mouth went dry. You've been trapped here. He slowly nodded. I never left. I turned back toward my double. He gave a weak smile. I told you. Then he pointed toward the darkness behind him. They did the same thing to me. My heart pounded harder than ever. What are you talking about? He took a shaky breath. There are no copies. He coughed blood. Only replacements. The archive suddenly felt much colder. I looked between them. One claimed the other was lying. Both looked exactly like frightened human beings. Both sounded sincere. Which one was real? The other Adam stretched his hand toward me. If you stay with him, you become him. Mr. Sam immediately shouted. Don't touch him. The two voices overlapped. One begging. One warning. Neither sounded dishonest. That frightened me more than anything. The white hands behind my double tightened. He screamed in pain. They slowly dragged him backward. He clawed desperately at the concrete floor, leaving bloody marks. Adam. He reached toward me again. You still have time. I instinctively reached back. Mr. Sam grabbed my arm. No. The distance between my fingertips and his. Less than 6 inches. Then, the hands pulled him violently backward. His scream echoed through the chamber. The darkness swallowed him whole. The hands disappeared. The steel door slowly closed. Silence returned. Only the bloody drag marks remained on the floor. Proof that I hadn't imagined any of it. I collapsed against one of the shelves. My hands shook uncontrollably. What was that? Mr. Sam sat beside me. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stared at the closed door. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded older than ever. The first time I saw myself. He swallowed. I believed him. I looked at him. What happened? I opened the door. He closed his eyes. And he walked away. A long silence followed. Then he whispered. I've been here ever since. The archive lights suddenly dimmed. Every clock in the room, hundreds of them mounted on different walls, began ticking backward. Not one. All of them. Perfectly synchronized. Tick. 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 Every second moved into the past. The temperature plummeted. Frost spread across the steel shelves. The emergency lights turned dark red. Mr. Sam stood abruptly. His expression changed from fear to absolute horror. No. I looked at him. What? He whispered. It knows you're here. Before I could ask another question, every emergency speaker inside the archive came alive. A distorted female voice echoed through the underground chambers. Older this time. Weaker. Like the recording itself was dying. Emergency containment breach. Static. Entity has entered recognition phase. Static. Do not respond if it appears as someone you love. The recording suddenly cut off. Then another voice replaced it. Not recorded. Live. A little girl's voice. Soft. Fragile. Leanne. I whispered. She sounded frightened. Adam. Her voice echoed from somewhere deep beyond the steel door. Don't let him remember you. The transmission ended. I frowned. What does that mean? Mr. Sam slowly looked at me. His face had gone completely pale. He answered in barely a whisper. It doesn't hunt people. He paused. It collects them. Before I could speak, a loud metallic crash exploded behind us. Thousands of patient files fell from the shelves. Papers filled the air like snow. One folder landed at my feet. I picked it up. My heart stopped. The name on the cover read, Michael Carter. My father's name. Hands trembling, I opened it. The first page showed his photograph. Not from a family album. It was a hospital intake photo. Underneath, in faded black ink, were 4 words. Night security guard. I looked up at Mr. Sam. My voice barely worked. My father. He died in a car accident. Mr. Sam didn't answer immediately. Instead, he slowly closed the folder. Then looked directly into my eyes. No, Adam. He died here. Silence. The kind of silence that changes a person's life forever. Then Mr. Sam spoke the sentence I would never forget. Your father was the last man who tried to destroy St. Mary Hospital. He looked toward the steel door. And he failed. At that exact moment, something struck the other side of the door. Once. Hard enough to bend solid steel inward. Then came a second impact. Even stronger. The hinges screamed. The bolts began to crack. Mr. Sam took one slow step backward. His voice dropped to a whisper. It's coming out. And this time, whatever was behind that door was no longer pretending to be human. There are truths that destroy fear, and there are truths that destroy the person who learns them. What my father left behind wasn't a warning. It was a choice that had been waiting for me since the day I was born. The steel door shook again. This time, the impact was powerful enough to send a vibration through the entire underground archive. Dust poured from the ceiling. Metal shelves rattled. Thousands of patient files slid onto the floor. For several long seconds, neither Mr. Sam nor I spoke. We simply stared at the door. Waiting. Listening. Then, everything stopped. No footsteps. No pounding. Nothing. That silence frightened me more than the noise ever could. I looked down at my father's file. My hands were trembling so badly that I almost dropped it. The photograph showed him exactly as I remembered. Dark hair. Calm eyes. The same leather jacket he'd worn in the last picture my mother kept on our fireplace. But underneath the photograph, someone had handwritten a sentence in red ink. Subject refused replacement. I frowned. What does that mean? Mr. Sam closed his eyes. It means your father did something no one else ever managed to do. What? He said no. I stared at him. I don't understand. You will. He slowly took the file from my hands and turned another page. Inside were pages of handwritten notes. Not medical records. A journal. My father's handwriting. The first entry was dated October 11th, 1994. 3 days before I was born. If anyone ever finds this, my name is Michael Carter. I accepted the night security position because my wife is pregnant and we desperately need the money. I stopped breathing. My mother had never told me any of this. She always said Dad worked late shifts at a warehouse. Nothing about St. Mary Hospital. Nothing about being a security guard. Mr. Sam quietly nodded. They erased every record. I looked at him. Who? He didn't answer. Instead, he motioned for me to keep reading. The manager warned me about 3 rules. Never answer if someone calls your name. Never go to the 4th floor. Never stay awake after 2:17 a.m. I looked up. That's different. Mr. Sam nodded slowly. The rules change. Why? Because it learns. A cold wave passed through the archive. The emergency lights flickered. The steel door groaned. Something scratched against the other side. Slowly. Patiently. As if listening to our conversation. I continued reading. Tonight I met a little girl named Leanne. She told me not to trust the manager. She also said something I didn't understand. She said the building isn't haunted. She said. My eyes stopped on the next sentence. The building is alive. A chill spread through my chest. I whispered the words aloud. The building. Mr. Sam finished the sentence. Isn't containing it. He looked around the underground archive. It is it. For a moment. Nothing made sense. Then. Everything did. The clean hallway. The disappearing footprints. The impossible rooms. The changing clocks. The voices. The files. The hospital wasn't haunted by something. The hospital itself was the creature. I backed away instinctively. Every wall suddenly felt closer. Every pipe. Every ceiling tile. Every inch of concrete. It was all part of the same thing. It had been watching me since I walked through the front gate. My father had written one final paragraph. The ink looked rushed. Uneven. As if he'd been writing while running. If you're reading this, it chose you because of me. I stopped it once. Only for a little while. But it never forgets. One day. It will come for my son. The page ended there. No signature. No farewell. Just a smear of dried blood across the bottom. My knees almost gave out. He knew. Mr. Sam nodded. He always knew. Then why didn't he tell me? Mr. Sam looked toward the floor. Because if you know, it knows you know. The lights went out. Every single one. Complete darkness. Then. A heartbeat. Thump. The entire floor vibrated. Another. Thump. The walls seemed to breathe. Slowly. Rhythmically. Like lungs. I realized with horror. The heartbeat wasn't coming from behind the steel door anymore. It was everywhere. Inside the walls. Inside the ceiling. Beneath my feet. Inside the hospital itself. Emergency lights flashed on. Deep red. The archive had changed. The walls were moving. Not visibly. Subtly. As though muscles shifted beneath concrete. The shelves leaned inward. The ceiling lowered by inches. The corridors seemed narrower. The building was closing around us. Mr. Sam grabbed my arm. We don't have much time. What happens now? He hesitated. Then answered. It starts remembering. What does that mean? It remembers every person it has ever taken. The red lights flickered again. Suddenly. Voices filled the archive. Thousands of whispers. Men. Women. Children. All speaking at once. None loud enough to understand. Until. One voice rose above all the others. My mother's. Adam. I froze. No. Impossible. She was alive. Hundreds of miles away. Then. Another voice. My best friend. Another. My elementary school teacher. Another. My grandfather. Every person I had ever loved. Calling my name. One after another. One after another. One after another. Mr. Sam covered his ears. Don't answer. I won't. The whispers grew louder. More desperate. More convincing. Then, one voice broke through all the others. My father's. Son. Tears filled my eyes. His voice sounded exactly as I remembered. Warm. Calm. Protective. Adam. I'm here. I found the way out. Mr. Sam screamed. It's lying. The whispers stopped instantly. Silence returned. Then, a single laugh echoed through the archive. A little girl's laugh. Leanne. I turned. She stood at the end of the corridor. Exactly as before. Except now. She wasn't afraid. She looked determined. She smiled gently. Then pointed behind me. Not toward the steel door. Toward another passage I hadn't noticed before. A narrow hallway hidden between two collapsing shelves. Mr. Sam stared at it. I've never seen that before. Leanne whispered only 3 words. The heart. Then she disappeared. The floor shook violently. The steel door exploded inward. Not from an impact. It simply bent. Like paper. Darkness poured into the archive. But this time, it wasn't alone. Something walked out of it. Slowly. Deliberately. At first, it looked like a man. Tall. Broad shoulders. Its face hidden beneath shadow. Then, the shadow peeled away. My heart stopped. The face looking back at me was my own. Not older. Not younger. If you're listening to this recording, then one of 2 things happened. Either I escaped St. Mary Hospital, or something that looks exactly like me did. The thing standing in front of me smiled with my face. It wasn't pretending anymore. It wasn't hiding behind shadows or borrowed voices. It looked exactly like me. Every detail. The scar above my eyebrow. The tiny chip in my front tooth. Even the nervous twitch in my left eye whenever I was afraid. It was perfect. Too perfect. For a terrifying moment. I wasn't sure which one of us had walked into the hospital 7 nights earlier. Mr. Sam slowly stepped in front of me. Don't look into its eyes. I immediately lowered my gaze. The creature laughed. The sound echoed through the archive like dozens of voices laughing at slightly different times. Men. Women. Children. Old people. All speaking through the same mouth. You've told him the rules. It said. But you never told him the truth. Mr. Sam didn't answer. His hand tightened around the brass key. The creature smiled wider. He deserves to know. The lights flickered violently. The walls began to pulse. Not metaphorically. Literally. The concrete expanded and contracted like flesh breathing beneath skin. Pipes twisted. The ceiling groaned. The entire hospital was alive. Not haunted. Alive. The building wasn't containing the entity. The building was the entity. Every room. Every hallway. Every elevator. Every operating room. Every brick. It had been watching me from the moment I stepped through the front gate. Perhaps. Long before that. The creature looked directly at me. You've been asking the wrong question. Its voice was calm. Almost friendly. You keep asking what I am. It took another step. You should be asking what you are. A cold wave spread through my body. What does that mean? It tilted its head. Then whispered. You were born here. I looked at Mr. Sam. He closed his eyes. He didn't deny it. My heart stopped. No. He finally spoke. Your mother went into labor 3 weeks early. There was a storm. The roads were flooded. The only place she could reach was St. Mary Hospital. My breathing became shallow. No. Mr. Sam continued. Your father never told you because he believed he had ended it that night. But it had already touched you. Everything around me faded. My childhood. My memories. My father's strange fear whenever hospitals were mentioned. The nightmares I'd had since I was 6. The voices. The sleepwalking. The feeling that someone was watching me. It had never begun when I took this job. It had begun the day I was born. The creature smiled. You belong here. No. You've always belonged here. I don't. You came back on your own. It was right. No one forced me to apply. No one dragged me into St. Mary Hospital. I had chosen it. Or had I? Mr. Sam suddenly shouted. Adam. I looked at him. He tossed the brass key toward me. Now. I caught it instinctively. The creature's smile disappeared. For the first time. It looked concerned. Behind the creature. The floor cracked open. Far below. Something enormous moved. An endless abyss. Thousands of eyes slowly opening. Millions of whispers rising together. I finally understood. The creature standing before me wasn't the entity. It was only its face. Mr. Sam pointed toward the center of the chamber. A massive machine emerged from beneath the floor. Ancient steel. Covered in strange symbols. In its center. One keyhole. Exactly the size of the brass key. The lock. Mr. Sam whispered. Your father couldn't finish it. The creature rushed toward me. Not running. Flowing. Its body dissolved into black smoke. Hundreds of arms burst from the darkness. Reaching. Grabbing. The voices screamed together. Come home. I ran. Every hallway around me changed shape. The floor rippled beneath my feet. Doors appeared where walls had been. Staircases folded into impossible angles. The hospital fought to stop me. It was no longer pretending to be a building. It was defending itself. I reached the machine. My hands shook violently. I pushed the key toward the lock. It wouldn't fit. No. I forced it harder. Still nothing. Behind me. The entity laughed. It only opens for the keeper. I turned toward Mr. Sam. Understanding hit me instantly. The keeper. The guardian. The reason he had survived 32 years. He wasn't trapped. He was the lock. Mr. Sam smiled. A tired smile. The smile of a man who had carried an impossible burden for decades. I promised your father. I'd give you a choice. He slowly walked past me. Toward the machine. The entity screamed. Every wall shook. No. For the first time. It sounded afraid. Mr. Sam placed his hand on the machine. The symbols began glowing. Golden light spread through the chamber. The brass key turned by itself. A deep mechanical roar echoed beneath the hospital. The entire building trembled. The entity lunged toward him. I tried to reach him. He looked back one final time. Live the life I couldn't. Then, the machine exploded with light. The scream that followed was unlike anything human ears were meant to hear. It wasn't one voice. It was thousands. Millions. Every stolen voice. Every forgotten victim. Every soul the hospital had ever consumed. The walls split apart. Concrete collapsed. The breathing stopped. The endless whispers became silence. For the first time, St. Mary Hospital felt dead. I woke beneath a gray morning sky. Rain fell softly across my face. Firefighters surrounded the ruins. Police officers shouted orders. The hospital was gone. Nothing remained except smoking rubble. A paramedic knelt beside me. "Can you hear me?" I nodded weakly. Was anyone else inside? I looked toward the ruins. I wanted to say Mr. Sam's name. But something stopped me. Instead, I whispered, "No." 6 months later, life slowly returned to normal. The police ruled the fire an electrical accident. No underground levels were ever discovered. No patient records. No secret archives. No evidence that St. Mary Hospital had ever existed beyond a burned-out building. Mr. Sam had no birth certificate. No driver's license. No employment history. According to every government database, he had never existed. I tried to move on. I found another job. Started therapy. Stopped talking about the hospital. Eventually, I convinced myself it had all been trauma. Grief. Hallucinations brought on by stress. People survive terrible things. The mind protects itself. That's what my therapist told me. I wanted to believe her. Exactly 1 year later, I woke at 2:17 a.m. No nightmare. No noise. I simply opened my eyes. My phone screen lit up by itself. One new message. Unknown sender. There was no phone number. No contact name. Just one sentence. "The door is closed." I stared at it. A second message appeared. But locks were out. Then, a third. "Don't forget the rules." Every light in my apartment went out. Silence filled the room. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Slowly, a reflection appeared in the black screen of my phone. Someone was standing behind me. Tall. Thin. Motionless. I refused to turn around. My phone vibrated one last time. The final message contained only 2 words. "Good choice." The voice that whispered behind my ear was calm. Gentle. Almost familiar. I kept my promise. It was Mr. Sam's voice. Or maybe I only wanted it to be. I never turned around. Because after everything I'd survived, I had finally learned the most important rule of all. Some answers are far more dangerous than the questions. Epilogue. If you've listened to my story from beginning to end, do me one favor. Look at the time. If it's 2:17 a.m. and someone whispers your name, don't answer. Even if the voice belongs to someone you love. Especially if it belongs to someone you love. Because some doors don't lead to places. They lead to someone waiting. And once they learn your name, they never forget it. The end.